look up when he gets up behind you like that. Just a little bit before. We'll tell you when to look back. All right, ready? Okay, roll audio. Okay. Action.
No.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Do it one more time. I wrote Amendment back in 2004. 2003, 2004. It was my first screenwriting endeavor. And I think even before it was what it is now, it was a completely different story, but it was something. You know, I finally wrote something from beginning to end, and I was pretty happy with that. I started rewriting and rewriting, and then it became Amendment. It became what it is now. So we got to around November, I think it was November, and Mike and I originally, this was November 2004, we wanted to film this, and when I wrote it knowing that I was going to film it. So I didn't write anything into it that I knew I couldn't do. I wanted to just write something, film it, and say, hey, look, okay, I did something. So we went out on a morning in November, and we went out to the cemetery in Pontiac. And Marissa, my daughter Marissa, was playing the part of Sarah. So we went out and we filmed these scenes of her walking through the cemetery, sitting at the gravestone. And she was a little bit younger than Hannah actually is. So we filmed those scenes. We went out another day, we filmed Mike walking up to the church, walking around. There was a lot of walking. We used to make a joke that the movie was subtitled Sad People Walking, because there was a lot of walking. But we were just trying to get it done. We went to a park and we filmed some of the park scene where the kids are playing with the ball. And then what happened, it just kind of fell off the radar. Everybody got busy. And I didn't really have the resources. And I don't mean financially, I just mean I didn't have the resources, the support team like I have now. So it got shelved, and you know, every now and then I would open up the PDF file of the script and I'd read it. It's like 15, 17 pages. And I'd get to the end and I'm like, it's still pretty good. You know, I think when you do something, when you put it away for a while and come back to it, that's when you know if it still has the quality that you thought it did. And I would read it and it's pretty good. And then Mike would read it and he'd go, you know, this is pretty good, we should make it. So it had legs, it kept going every year. And we were just awaiting the time when we could actually do it.
Tom and I met actually in junior high. We went to the same junior high together, and we quickly found out that we both had a love for film, for movies.
I used to like going to his house and watching movies because he always had all the R-rated movies taped. So that was like an escape to go do that. And we'd film our own stuff, and you know, we had a lot of fun spending time down in the basement watching movies and talking about movies.
And at the time, one of my really favorite films was Creepshow, and I thought it was so cool because he had a Creepshow comic book. They were like hard to get, and so I thought that was really cool.
And then I moved. We moved to a new house, went to a different high school, and I really didn't see Phil or hear from him.
And it actually had been some time since Tom and I had talked. Tom had moved after junior high, but we reconnected, you know, through the internet and Facebook, and we worked on a 48-hour film challenge together. Tom scored the music and did the special effects, and then from there we said, well, let's work on a project together. And Tom was talking about this script that he had written a few years back, and he had sent it to me, and I loved the script. I could totally see this being made. It had great potential. And so I said, yes, let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's make this our next project.
you know, there was a few, I think we probably started talking about it in August. And the film, the main timeline of the film takes place in fall, so I knew it had to be done coming up. It had to be October or November that we had to get out and get those shots. But now this is where the fun began, because now we actually had to bring this movie to life. So I had some students at school who were taking storyboarding classes, excellent artists. So I split up the script between the two of them, and they both came back with storyboards. So I kind of knew what I wanted, but it was nice to see another take on it, another perspective. And we moved on to casting, and casting was going to be fun, but also difficult, because you really had to get the right people for these parts. And Mike was always in it from the beginning, so that was a given. But now I needed a girl to be the 9-year-old girl. And my daughter Marissa, obviously this time has passed, she's 13 now, so she couldn't really play the part. So I tried thinking, okay, who do I know that has a daughter that's around that age? So I started with my friends, because I knew they would be accepting of it. And one that stood out was Hannah, and she lives down the street from us. And just from seeing her at events or seeing her playing with my daughters outside, I knew that she had that outgoing personality, and she had the look that I wanted. And so I approached her parents and, you know, tried to see how they felt about that. And they were great with it, and they talked to her about it, and she said she wanted to do it. And then the role of Abby had to go to Lily, my daughter Lily. And she was 4 at the time. I didn't really know what was going to happen when she got in front of the camera. But we had practiced, and it was actually her that said it, because she, you know, we were talking about how she would have to pretend that she was dead, and laying in the street, and we were driving home in the minivan one day, and she was in the car seat, and she's like, "Dad," like she was really thinking about it, she goes, "I can do that. Watch when we get home, I'll show you." And we got out of the van, and she ran down in the driveway, and she lay there, and she didn't move. And she, you know, she was giving me all these different ways she could lay on the ground. I could do this, I could do that. So I knew that she would be able to do that, and again, she did. And we practiced the lines for when she's coloring, because I wanted that to be all one shot, and she nailed that. So I don't know, how much can I really say about it? Everybody did a great job.
Alright, this is behind the scenes of behind the scenes of behind the scenes of Amendment. Take 2.
So then we did our first day of shooting, and I remember waking up that morning and the fog was so thick, so it was kind of like a precursor to how the weather was going to be for the rest of the shoot of the film, which was cold throughout the whole shoot of the film. But that day it was just fog, but it did lift, and it gave a really nice look to the film for the beginning and the opening scene of the film on the street, with the fog on the street and that sort of thing. And but there was a lot of excitement that first day.
Scene 2, take 1.
So we got our shots done at the house, and I had this thing scheduled out of how I thought it would go, and we stuck to it to an extent. We spent a lot of time at the house in the morning, probably because it was the first scene, probably because it was the first day. You know, and it was fun. We all had a good time. We had a lot of help.
But it was a great shoot. There was, as I said, a lot of excitement. We got a lot done that day, all the way up to the final scene you see in the film, or the second from final scene, the accident scene, where we were really pressed for time. It was getting dark, and Tom did a great job editing that together. You cannot tell that we were losing light like by every second, so it came out really well.
Are we good? cut some black.
Good, yeah, we good.
Set up the next shot. You want to start it down?
I'll download.
Okay.
We did take a break in the filming for the winter, and I believe our first scene back was the motel. That was a really interesting shoot. We actually had to change rooms. The first one, the bed wasn't made or anything, and so I had a kind of a problem going into a room that hasn't been cleaned yet.
And then we're going to blend it with the other shot that we already took. So then, you see the pacing of it? Okay, roll sound.
Rolling.
Scene 1, shot 1, take 4.
Are you kidding?
It was pretty cold. I was okay with that because I had a coat on. Mike was the one that was going to be wearing an undershirt. The rest of the shooting we did in the motel was stuff that really was secondary on my mind. We ended up just getting in it, and it ended up being one of the things I liked most about the movie. With Mike on the bed, you know, just that deep thought, him looking out the window, those are kind of things that we improvised on set.
The flashback day was significant because I think it had a lot of the emotional appeal of the film. So actually the first scene of the flashbacks that we shot in that sequence was with Kelly and Mike when she leaves him. And I think, I'm not sure, but I think that scene took the longest to film. Not that they were, you know, not getting it right, but I think we just really wanted to explore and really work that scene out over and over and over. And we took a good, I think, 4 or 5 hours to film that minute scene, or minute and 30-second scene.
So we got the choreography down and we shot it from 3 different angles and with an additional shot with just handheld, and it came out great. There was a lot of good stuff, and there was a lot to work with. And sometimes you just got to stop yourself and say, okay, this is good. This is a good edit, because I had so many takes that I could go through that were just really good.
Action!
Abby,
Oh
baby.
my God, I'm so sorry.
Abby, baby.
We ran through the shot a few times with her laying on a blanket because the ground was wet. It was raining a little bit. And then we said, all right, we poured the blood, laid her head down in it, and just said, don't move. And she laid there for a good 40 minutes, I think, while we were getting that shot. We ran that shot probably about 6 or 7 times. Never moved. You know, if you watch that scene and really, if you try to find her doing something, trying to move something, you won't find it because she didn't move a muscle.
My foot is cold.
Excuse me. Just a little bit longer.
I think Kitty lost interest.
Who's Kitty?
Ready? Rolling.
Action!
Action!
Abby, baby. Abby, baby.
So another major element of this film that had been there from the beginning, and I'm saying even from the first draft when the story was completely different, the butterfly was always in the story. So Stan, who was one of our storyboard artists, did some original drawings of the butterfly with different color patterns, and I think it was pretty easy. We all agreed on the same one. It was this blue butterfly, and it had there was a speckle to it that kind of looked like stars that I liked. So now we needed to take that drawing and get it into a photorealistic texture, and Nick did that as well. He was able to take what Stan did and turn that into a real-looking wings. So we ended up with this butterfly that in the film gets kind of desaturated just because it had to match what was going on, but the actual texture of this butterfly, it was a nice vivid blue with some yellowish orange going throughout the wings, and then it had that speckle pattern in there a little bit. So we were pretty happy with that. Once the model was done, Nick and I kind of took turns animating the butterfly for the shots. I think I had determined that it was going to be in 7 or 8 shots, so we kind of divvied those up, most of them being on the rooftop when the butterfly lands, when he falls and it lands by his face. We got those all knocked out, agreed that was the best shot. So Nick did a great job. Couldn't ask for anything better. The butterfly, I mean, the detail that was on that thing, you don't even really get to see it or appreciate it because we don't get that close to it. But you know, it was fur. There was fur on the outside of the body. Every individual leg had its own control that could be moved, and it just really, I think it goes up and shows you what can be done when you have talented people and the efforts that they put into things.
Working on this film was absolutely amazing. I learned a tremendous deal on it. I also did the photography on it, and the camera that we worked on, the 7D, I've had for probably at that time a little over a year, and I was still learning it. But working with Tom and talking about shots and lenses and researching more, I learned a ton. I learned a ton, you know, about filming with when you're going to be incorporating CGI effects, and I had no experience on that before, and that was really interesting to learn that part of it.
Because of the generosity of our friends and our family, we were able to make this exactly the way we wanted it. I don't think we settled on anything. We didn't just say, oh, well, that's fine. If there was something we need to pay for, we did it the right way and we paid for it. And we will continue to do that through the film festival season for the next year.
And I think the film came out so good because we worked as collaborators. I mean, yeah, we all had our specific jobs, but we were encouraged and we felt that we could talk about things that kind of crossed over into other people's positions, if you will. And I think that helped as a whole, that it was an open arena just for creativity.
So, you know, you can talk about stuff and talk about it and talk about it, and the reality is you have to do it. You have to just get out there and do it. And I did that, and we did that, and now that the movie's done, that sticks with me. And I tell people that are talking about other things, like, you know what? Just do it. Oh, you got a story idea? You got to write it. You got a song idea? You got to write it. And it's like the Nike thing, like, just do it. You just have to do it, or you'll talk about it forever.